The story of Adolf Hitler's rise to power is one of ambition, manipulation, and a world desperate for stability. How did a failed artist, once living in poverty, rise to become the most infamous dictator of the 20th century? Hitler's path to dominance was not a sudden event, but a carefully calculated ascent, fueled by economic despair, nationalist sentiment, and ruthless political maneuvering. To understand how Hitler went from obscurity to ultimate power, we must go back to the end of World War I, when Germany was left broken and vulnerable, setting the stage for one of history's darkest chapters. The end of World War I in 1918 left Germany in a state of total collapse. The war, which had raged for 4 years, ended in defeat for Germany, and the aftermath was devastating. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed severe penalties on the German nation. The treaty forced Germany to accept full responsibility for the war, pay enormous reparations, and drastically reduce its military. The once mighty German Empire was now humiliated on the world stage. The economic toll was brutal. Inflation skyrocketed, unemployment soared, and food shortages left citizens struggling to survive. Many Germans felt betrayed by their leaders, believing they had been stabbed in the back by politicians who signed the treaty. This resentment created fertile ground for radical ideas to take hold. It was in this atmosphere of despair that a young Austrian-born man named Adolf Hitler saw an opportunity. Adolf Hitler was born in Austria in 1889 and had aspirations of becoming an artist. However, he was rejected twice by the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna. With no prospects, he drifted through life until World War I erupted. Hitler volunteered to fight for Germany and served as a messenger on the front lines. He was wounded and later awarded the Iron Cross for bravery. After the war, Hitler returned to a broken Germany with no real direction. In 1919, he joined the German Workers' Party, a small nationalist group with radical views. He quickly gained influence due to his powerful oratory skills and ability to connect with the frustrations of the German people. The party was rebranded as the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP, better known as the Nazi Party. Hitler's speeches were fiery and passionate. He blamed Germany's problems on the Treaty of Versailles, the Weimar government, and Jewish people, promoting anti-Semitic and nationalist rhetoric. His ability to captivate audiences made him the face of the Nazi movement. In 1923, Hitler and his followers attempted to overthrow the government in what became known as the Beer Hall Putsch. Inspired by Benito Mussolini's March on Rome, Hitler believed he could seize power in Munich and trigger a nationwide rebellion. On November 8, 1923, he and his supporters stormed a beer hall where Bavarian leaders were meeting, demanding they support his coup. However, the rebellion was poorly planned and quickly crushed by the police. Hitler was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Though the coup failed, his trial became a platform for him to spread his message, gaining national attention. While in prison, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, My Struggle, outlining his ideology and future plans for Germany. He detailed his belief in Aryan supremacy, anti-Semitism, and the need for a strong authoritarian government. The book became a manifesto for the Nazi movement. After serving only 9 months, Hitler was released, more determined than ever to gain power, but this time through legal means. For much of the 1920s, Hitler struggled to gain mainstream support. The Weimar Republic, despite its flaws, was relatively stable. However, everything changed in 1929 when the Great Depression struck. The US stock market crash led to economic devastation worldwide, and Germany was hit especially hard. Millions of Germans lost their jobs, and the fragile Weimar government seemed incapable of fixing the crisis. Desperate for solutions, many Germans turned to extremist parties. The Nazi Party, which had been a minor force, suddenly gained massive support. Hitler promised to rebuild Germany, restore national pride, and eliminate those he blamed for its downfall. His speeches painted him as a savior, and by 1930, the Nazi Party became the second largest in the Reichstag, German parliament. As political instability grew, Hitler positioned himself as the only leader capable of bringing order. He gained support from influential businessmen, military leaders, and ordinary citizens who feared communism more than they feared his radical ideas. By 1932, Hitler was one of the most powerful political figures in Germany. He ran for president against Paul von Hindenburg, a respected World War I general. Though he lost, he proved that his influence was undeniable. In January 1933, under pressure from conservative elites who believed they could control him, Hindenburg reluctantly appointed Hitler as chancellor. It was a decision that would change history forever. Within weeks of taking office, Hitler began dismantling democracy. In February 1933, the Reichstag fire provided the perfect excuse to target his opponents. Hitler blamed communists for the fire and used it to justify emergency measures. He convinced Hindenburg to sign the Reichstag fire decree, which suspended civil liberties and allowed mass arrests of political enemies. 1 month later, the Enabling Act was passed, giving Hitler absolute power. With this law, he could enact laws without parliamentary approval, effectively making him a dictator. Democracy in Germany was dead. Once in power, Hitler wasted no time in eliminating opposition. The Night of the Long Knives in June 1934 saw the execution of hundreds of political rivals, solidifying Hitler's control. When President Hindenburg died in August 1934, Hitler combined the roles of chancellor and president, declaring himself Führer, leader of Germany. Germany had officially become a totalitarian state. The Nazi Party controlled every aspect of life, from the media to education. Dissent was crushed, and those who opposed Hitler were sent to concentration camps. The seeds of World War II had been planted. Hitler's rise to power was not inevitable. It was the result of economic despair, political manipulation, and a failure to stop extremism before it took hold. His leadership would lead to one of the darkest periods in human history, culminating in World War II and the Holocaust. Understanding how Hitler gained power is crucial, as it serves as a reminder of how fragile democracy can be in times of crisis. His story is a warning of what happens when fear and propaganda are used to manipulate a nation. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more historical deep dives.